I think we're seeing more people understand the importance of where their Kiwisaver is invested now, which is good. But it doesn't seem that long ago where people didn't actually, and there's probably still a lot that don't understand what fund that they're in. Like I see when we talk about Kiwisaver as a country, I think people think it's the same thing. And I see comments online and people are like, oh, your Kiwisaver's down at the moment. Like, yeah, okay, like your Kiwisaver maybe, but what fund is that? And, who's it invested with? But even that as a small action micro step that you could take to figure out, okay, is the fund that I'm in, is it fit for purpose for the risk profile that I have longer term and the reason that I have this KiwiSaver?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a perfect one to start with. Sometimes we do, talk about these things and people go like, tell me to start my own business, buy a property, invest into shares, do whatever. It's like, nah, maybe it's just like cut up your credit card,
Mm.
write down a budget, spend like 30 minutes making an active choice of your KiwiSaver. And once again, coming back to compounding actions, you sort those things out, the noise is out of the way. What's the next thing I can go and do off the back of it? Those that haven't sorted out their KiwiSaver, like you're paying somebody a fee for a long period of time. You should make sure they're doing a good job. You should make sure they align with your values. Just go and get it done.
For those who don't understand, is the risk that they're in, say, a conservative fund or even a cash fund, Jesus, hopefully they don't wind you up too much, but their KiwiSaver is effectively sitting in cash and it's not exposed to any risk at all. And over a long period of time, they're missing out these massive compound gains.
Yeah, I mean, you could quite easily be talking about like hundreds of thousands of dollars, which sounds like ridiculous. But if you're like 25, 30 listening to this and you're going to have it for 30 years and you've got a reasonable income, quite clearly the government has shown that they want to increase contributions going forward, which means it's going to become more and more important. You've got to make an active choice. The other one that's just wild and like doesn't really make a hell of a lot of sense is how different a KiwiSaver provider's performance can be. Like I was writing some notes for a KiwiSaver presentation, and the worst KiwiSaver for a growth fund in terms of 5-year performance was like 5% per annum, and the best 5 years was like 10 or 11% per annum. And you're like, how does that even work? Like, how can there be such a variance? And like, people will have money with that thing. And you just got to make sure, sort it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose if people think that KiwiSaver is just the same thing, they're not even going to think to check what fund that they are invested into or if it is fit for purpose for whether it's a first home or, using it actually for retirement in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, maybe just one other quick point while we're at it. If you're buying your first home in a couple of years, just don't be in a high growth fund. Essentially, you should think like you're a 62, 63-year-old because you're going to use that money soon. I'm sure Mikey's got a story for you at some point. My Mike certainly does.
Yeah.
Around somebody being in Bitcoin or a high growth KiwiSaver, go to settle their home, market's dropped, there's no money to settle the home.
Yeah, I've had a few of those DMs. They're unpretty, but I reckon investors have gotten away with it a little bit recently because markets have been so frothy. And I don't know if you've seen the data about amounts being pulled out for first home buyer withdrawals out of KiwiSaver, and I almost wonder, are those people, are they risk on and don't even realize that that is risky? However, surely they learned after the tariffs and stuff when everything just tanked and quite quickly, like, oh sheesh, I needed that money. But I feel like we've been protected a little bit where markets have continued to increase and they're probably gaining from KiwiSaver going up.
Yeah. You reckon people learn?
Who knows?
Yeah, for sure. The other one though, that really interesting thing that's happening at the moment is property and shares that I do find like super fascinating. So like over the last couple of years, obviously the rise of the DIY platforms, being able to invest, KiwiSaver balance is growing past the value of the car, so people take it more seriously. Everybody is very pro shares at the moment, but the market has performed exceptionally well over the last couple of years. Anyone who bought a property in 2021 has learned the term negative equity, which ain't fun for anybody. And people think this thing is dead. Shares are really good. But the only guarantee I believe in terms of assets, law of averages, maybe even people, is just that like it's going to drop back to whatever the average is over time. And if you've got your KiwiSaver in a high growth fund and you want to buy your first home soon, you've got to accept that's gambling. Like, could work out. Why not?
Yeah, regression to the mean, right? What do you sort of these days, like when I started learning about investing, you would think, okay, 7-8% return is outstanding if you can get that. It almost seems like if you said to someone, oh, I'm aiming for a 7-8% return, a lot of younger people are like, is that all? What's the sort of industry standard these days that you think you think like you could almost model a fund growing on comfortably without, taking on too much risk.
Yeah, I mean, so without getting too like boring and technical, like we'd also like assume like tax fees and inflation within that. So we'd actually model more at like a 3 or 4% return to show what the value of your money is in the future. I mean, you just really use more benchmarks than anything else and go like, yep, somewhere between like 8 and 10 is probably pretty reasonable if you're taking that level of risk though.
Mm.
People talk about they want to like that big return, but then you go, cool, this is how much you can drop by and be like, no, I want a balance fund. And you're like, but you're not going to get the same return over the long term. Yeah, that's just how it rolls.